Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind the Country Chic Cottage. So several years ago, I went on the hunt for a sublimation spray adhesive that I liked. I actually did a video several years ago kind of testing some, and I did not find any I liked during that video, but later I found a version I liked, and it was Dye-Trans Pro Spray. However, where I purchased that, which was Condi, has now went out of business. So I am again on the hunt for the perfect sublimation spray adhesive. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the versions I found that worked well. We're going to talk about what it is and when you use it. And then I'm going to give a brief tutorial on how to use a sublimation spray adhesive for all of your sublimation projects. Now, let's take a look at the brands that I tested as well as the ones that I felt worked best. First of all, there are a ton of repositionable adhesives on the market. I tested 6 of the ones that I saw recommended on various forums and some that I just added in for fun. I tested all of these on both a hard surface as well as soft surfaces, and I tested it for how well does it spray. Does it leave any residue on the surface? Does it look different if I tape it versus if I use the spray adhesive? So I rated these on a variety of factors and I came up with my top 2 picks. My number 1 pick is going to be Pixie Spray from iCraft. It is a rather small spray bottle. However, for this process, you do not need much adhesive, so this will last a long time. This is definitely my number 1 overall pick. If you can't find this or want a number 2 pick, my number 2 pick is going to be this Sprayway Mist Spray Adhesive. And you want the one that says 82 on the bottle. And it is for textile screen printing, and it worked really well for sublimation as well. So I think either of these would work well, but I definitely have the Pixie Spray as my number 1 pick, and then the Sprayway product as my number 2 pick. Next is, why would you want to use a spray adhesive for sublimation? 4 things, especially like acrylic, is a great example. Something that gives you press marks or tape marks. So a lot of times if you add tape to an acrylic surface to sublimate on it, it will leave some tape marks, so the tape will sort of embed into the surface of the actual blank, and it just does not look professional. That is where a spray adhesive will come in. You're going to spray the surface of your sublimation print, and it's going to make it slightly tacky. Then that will stick to your surface without any tape required, so there are no tape marks left behind when you use a sublimation spray adhesive. So a repositionable adhesive can be used on a wide variety of sublimation surfaces. This includes fabric surfaces, coasters, so any type of garment. I use it on mouse pads quite a bit. I think that's a good application. But it can also be used on hard surfaces. So I mentioned acrylic or plastic here, but also ceramic, metal, wood, glass, sublimation leather, just any type of surface that you're going to sublimate, you can probably use the spray adhesive as an alternative to tape. Now, I use tape in most cases. I only use the adhesive where it's needed to prevent tape marks, or if there are special cases where the tape just does not stick. Then I use the spray adhesive instead. So let's take a look at how to use the spray adhesive. First of all, your sublimation print, I would put it down inside of a box, especially if you're going to spray inside, because this adhesive can go just about everywhere. Then take your adhesive spray, whatever brand you're using, and shake it very well. So you want to shake that up. Then you're going to hold the adhesive spray can about 12 to 18 inches away from your sublimation print and just lightly spritz it. And if you're nervous about like, is the can clogged? I've used this, but I haven't used it in months. Then I would test it over like on the side of the box. Just make sure it's flowing pretty good. And then just lightly spritz way up in the air and just let it fall onto your sublimation print. So way up in the air, just a couple of spritzes does it. Let it fall onto the print and then let it dry completely. Once this dries, and it just takes like a couple of seconds to dry, it should be just slightly tacky. And then you can add your clean sublimation blank. Now this one goes where the print does not have to be mirrored. And then you just press that into place. And this will be adhered lightly to the surface. And then all you have to do is add protective paper to the front and the back and press like usual. So press using the time and temperature for the blank that you've chosen to put your sublimation print on. The sublimation spray adhesive does not change the time or the temperature that you will press your sublimation print for. Then once you're done pressing, you would just peel that sublimation print back so it peels off easily after it's heated. So with a good sublimation spray adhesive, so like I said, the Pixie Spray was my #1 and this Sprayway product was my #2. With a good version, you should see good results. You shouldn't have any residue left on your blank. You should not have any issues with, say, like it feeling sticky or anything like that. You also shouldn't have any issues removing it. So because it's a removable adhesive, you should be able to just peel that right back. Shouldn't leave any residue, and it shouldn't change the color of your sublimation print. So those were kind of the factors that I looked at when testing these, and these two products worked great. So if you are having issues with your adhesive spray, first look at the brand you're using, because there are so many repositionable adhesives on the market. But I don't feel like all of them are, #1, not all of them are great. The sprays themselves, like the spray nozzle itself, is not wonderful. #2, I feel like not all of them are meant to be heated. So during that heating process, it affects the adhesive itself and might alter the properties. And then #3, probably some of the ones on the market just aren't great, period, no matter if it's for sublimation or not. So that's why I tested several and tried to pick ones that were readily available for you to use. So this is my pick for the top sublimation adhesive spray. And hopefully you'll give it a try with your sublimation projects, especially if you are having issues with, say, tape marks on something like acrylic where the tape kind of digs into it. A lot of times, like on mouse pads, different like the neoprene itself, I feel like the tape tends to leave a mark, so I tend to use a repositionable adhesive. Just certain things is where I would use this adhesive. I do not, absolutely, I've said this before, but I do not replace my sublimation heat resistant tape with this product. I rarely use a sublimation spray adhesive. I only use it when it's absolutely necessary, but I do feel it is a great tool to have within your craft room if you're doing sublimation crafting. So if you're struggling with some of those issues, try a sublimation spray adhesive. And if the one you're using isn't working properly, brand, first of all. Second of all, go over the steps that I went through for how to use it. You're probably putting too much on is a common mistake. It just needs a very, very light coat. Not letting it sort of dry for a few seconds before you apply it. So if you apply it when it's still really damp, it can change the properties of the adhesive itself. So those are some common mistakes. So kind of walk through the steps on how to use it and make sure you're using it correctly. Before you say that this brand isn't working for me, do make sure that you're following those steps correctly. If you are, try to change brands and see if that makes a difference. So hopefully this helped you find a sublimation spray adhesive that works for you. If you have any questions about anything I covered, drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you liked this video and it helped you, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.